Oh, this thing. Doing my head in. One of these days, the button for the opening credits will actually work when I press it.
Oh yeah.
I think, did it go 3 times for you guys as well? Third time lucky?
I got at least 2.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No problem at all. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast. My name's Ian Taylor, and I'm rocking the fall collection here today.
Looks good.
Nice.
Looks good.
And we are live on the Tube Review, and we have Jason.
Hello.
Mr. Hurricane Survivor,
Yeah.
otherwise known as. We have Josh, also a Hurricane Survivor.
Yes. A brush by, but we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, everybody.
Just kind of gave a brief, tasteful brush of your derriere as it passed you by. Yes.
That was...
Speaking of brief brushes of derriere, we have Wesley.
Heyo.
Oh.
Your beard is looking very, very vibrant.
Yeah.
Today.
Oh, and the swoosh is on point, man. You just
It's looking good. It's looking good.
Yeah,
Right.
You get ready to deliver presents in December.
Yep, that's you called
And
me
we got
out.
Santa
Figured
Claus
out I'm
thing
saying.
going on. Yeah.
yeah,
I have to
Marvel.
Made my stomach getting a little bigger too.
It's like a Marvel Santa. Yeah. I like that.
I'm aghast at how much Santas actually get paid. Certainly over here, my wife had came home and told me, "Oh, there's an opportunity to do a Santa like shifts on certain days throughout December," and I'm like, "Oh, well, okay, that's cool." And I was kind of, doing the whole kind of, yeah, that's cool. While I'm looking at my phone, yeah, okay, kind of half listening, and then she's like, oh yeah, and you get paid like £70 a shift. I was like, what? I was suddenly paying attention at that point. So yeah, 70. I mean, that's let me think. That's probably about $90, and it's just a half day. That's all right.
Not
Yeah.
terrible.
Not
not bad.
terrible. Maybe I'm just cheap. I don't know. I was like, oh, I could do with an extra $85 in my pocket or whatever it is. Anyway,
There's worse things you could do in a couple hours to get the money.
there are, and listen, cards are not cheap. I'm sure we've all done those things over the over the years.
Well, it's Upper Deck who's driven us to these things with the amount of releases that they've put out in such a short period of time, bringing people to new lows and
Yeah.
new places.
Yeah, they have. They certainly have done that. Oh my Gideon! Believe it or not, can you just hold on to your pants, folks? Okay. Keith is going to be joining us.
What?
Keith has just messaged to say he's on his way.
Let's go.
So yeah. I mean, listen, those viewing numbers are about to go sharply through the roof. Who knows? We might even hit double figures. So before Keith, I'm going to hold on to dive in before Keith joins. But we're going to do hobby questions today, which is something that has been done intermittently on this podcast over the years. We kind of used to do them maybe about every 6 months or so, and we always used to get really good stuff, like some really cool questions. And it was always a really good one because you don't know what's going to be asked. You just got, it's like you're thrown different types of meat. You're a killer whale in a pool, and you're being thrown different types of meat, and you've got to make the most of it. That's the way I like to think of it. Anyway, if you're anywhere near my imagery,
Yeah.
Well,
Powerful image.
Yeah, well, some of us, when we undress on the beach, we do look more whale-like than others, and I'm talking about present company being included in that. I can't believe I just managed to win those Star Trek cards on eBay. Sorry, I just before we went live, I was just like,
now these are a new-ish release of the original.
No, well, that's the thing. I genuinely don't know, because when they got listed last week, I messaged the seller and said, "Can you post a picture of the back of the cards?" Had no reply, and the listing has no pictures of the back of the card. So who knows? But the thing is, with Rittenhouse, they've done so many Star Trek sets, with like original series focus, that the style of autograph just carries through about 15 years worth of sets, if not more. In fact, what am I talking about? It started with the Skybox cards in the late 90s. Yeah, they did one for each season, and then obviously Skybox went away and Rittenhouse took over, and Steve Charendoff went with them. So so he's the guy who was at Skybox, and they've carried on using the same style of format. And so the numbering is up into the 300s and 400s, you know, on that style format now. Because every set that comes out, they're bringing out, you know, and they're all on card.
Oh wow,
That's really cool.
So I've got no idea.
autos.
I mean, they are kind of, you know, smaller characters from the show, but you know, a lot of the actors they've had signing for them have been for so long that they've passed away now. So you know, anyway.
Right.
You can remember you talking about Khan. Ricardo Ancamont, what's his name?
Ricardo Montalban.
Yes, that's how you say it.
Yes. So they managed to get him for their, and they've done the same with the movies. You know, the original Star Trek 1 to 6 with the original crew, and then the next gen one. So the first 10 basically up to Nemesis. That kind of set is they did the same, but like a movie style. And so they've been in like 6-7 sets that have come out have had that style of autograph in. They just carry on the numbering. But yeah, they got him. I think he was one of the first signers they got for the first set they brought out, and he died shortly thereafter. So, you know, you can see from his autograph that he's getting on a bit. You can just tell. You know, it's like my handwriting because I'm getting old. You know. Anyway, so I'm not going to wait for Keith anymore because, quite frankly, people are chomping at the bit. So young Mr. Robert Murphy, because I think that's his username. I don't know. You were on your wife's account last time, so if it's not you, then I'm talking rubbish. We kind of touched upon this last time, if you remember correctly. And hang on a minute, I'm going to get that question off the screen because, quite frankly, I need this baldy head on my StreamYard. It's Keith.
Good morning, boys.
It's Keith.
Hey.
I'm going to move Keith.
What's
over
up,
there.
Keith? Good to see you.
Let me see if
Good
I
to
can
see you
move
guys
Wesley.
too.
I wanted to move Wesley over to the other side because Wesley is looking that way, so it would be good if he was looking at Keith. But never mind.
Yeah, with the swoosh, Wes has got to go on.
Keith, we haven't seen you since May. What's been up, buddy? Where have you been?
Reports of my demise are unfulfilled. It's just been a lot. It's been a long season. Work really killed me this year. Just happy to be back. Happy to be able to contribute in any way. It's been rough. I didn't know how much was coming my way this year. I took on a lot. I took on more work than I should have, and now I'm in recovery from work.
Okay, fair enough. We're in recovery from Marvel cards.
Yeah.
Quite literally, actually. This is our therapy session.
A lot's going on.
Oh, flipping out. Right.
And a
Well,
bloodbath.
we did touch on this, but we don't know how you feel, Keith. So, and I'm not going to go over it massively again in detail because it's on the last live that we did. But the question on the screen, I think the main question right now is how do we feel about Upper Deck losing the Marvel license? And Keith, I mean, everyone's heard what we think, but what's your thoughts? I mean, you've had a couple of weeks to stew. I mean, assuming the news reached you.
Yeah, it's reached me.
Okay, good.
It's certainly a mixed emotions feeling. There are things that I and we have had issues with in regards to quality, production, and all these issues that we've had with Upper Deck for a long time. And then at the same time, there's this semi-sweet feeling of like, wow, I'm not going to see Masterpieces for a while. I'm not going to see this property for a while. It's hard to really gauge how to feel about it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they can do. but at the same time, there's also this slew of product coming our way as
Yeah,
they transition out that makes it very challenging to pick and choose what to do as a collector. You know, if you're that guy that's got to have it all, you're in trouble right now.
Yeah, and we well, I mean, we know one of those. I mean, Keith, bless him, Keith Boyle is he's in. In fact, he did message a question to me last night. In fact, let me dig this one up. This kind of shows the state of mind of our friend Keith Boyle right now, because his question was, do they have to be Marvel related? Because I kind of want a full breakdown on what anyone could possibly do with 1,002-gallon bottles of baby oil. That was Keith's question. And I said to him, fire it over. It might get a little XXX rated and have a reply, but yeah.
That's probably a good indicator of what Gotta Have It All collector's doing right now, because he's lost his mind.
Yeah. He's bless him. I think Fleer Ultra Wolverine has been keeping him busy on EPAC, but yeah, I mean, I listen. We've all had a chance to sit with the news since our kind of first reactions a couple of Sundays back, but I've done a subsequent recorded a segment with Greg McLaughlin of Rebel Base Card Podcast, because he's interviewing people, because he's always been on the Star Wars side, so he's already with Topps now, Fanatic. So he's been interviewing people. So I think he's interviewed Mike Munchall, he's interviewed myself, he's interviewed people on the Star Wars side, and I think he's got one more to go. And he's going to release a 2-part kind of, just getting from different people in different areas of the hobby as to what it would mean. Because from their point of view, the guys on the Star Wars side of things, they've kind of had that playing ground all to themselves in terms of the non-sport stuff from Topps.
Great.
Because all the other stuff has pretty much been sports, and then all of a sudden it's going to be it's going to be. So I've just seen what someone's posted. I'm assuming this means to the baby oil question. I'd probably go and sit in the corner and just sniff at it for a little bit. But beyond that, I won't elaborate. But yeah. So. I think a lot of people are judging it based on Topps Chrome in terms of what's going to come down the pipe. And it's understandable, because that's the only thing we've seen. It's understandable because, oh Christ, I wish I hadn't raised this so early in the show now.
Topps Chrome and Star Wars. A lot of people are looking at what they've done with Star Wars and kind of it's got that feel too.
Yeah, and Star Wars have moved away from doing the individual property sets for shows and things like that, because I think that they're hard work. I think to do. They're hard work to keep fresh, because you're beholden to the actual show. I mean, Upper Deck, hats off to them. They have done them for every single show, but they've struggled to keep it new on some cases. When you're on that side of the live entertainment, the live product point of view. So it's interesting that for the first stab at it, Topps went on the comic art route. But then I guess it was probably a fairly quick one for them to get together. I mean, I'm pretty certain that the reason it came out in Europe first is because the licenses don't all happen at the same time for different territories.
Right.
So I think Panini had Europe. They clearly lost it at some point throughout this year, which is why Topps have started in Europe. Because their US license doesn't begin until the 1st of January 2025. Upper Deck have got it until the end of Q4. So I think that's why that's happened that way around. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I haven't had my hands on any Chrome. It doesn't look like a great set.
It's a middling product, correct? It's not supposed to be their high end.
No, no. But the frustration for me is that for the Marvel, albeit it's rather niche, but Marvel cards are still, fairly well established in the US, because that's the home territory. It's an American product for an American market. In the UK, they're not at all. So I see these UK groups, and people are people are like buying stuff and posting it and saying, "Oh, I've got this. Just make me offers." I've got no idea what the price is. And loads of these guys who are used to buying and ripping sports products, who are just using it as a rip and flip, have bought up loads of this Marvel Chrome stuff on multiple email addresses. So they've got they're posting photos of boxes and boxes stacked up that they've managed to acquire, and they're ripping them. But they haven't got a clue. But they don't care what it is. It's just another thing that they can make some money on. So I'm looking at this and thinking, that's not actually developing the Marvel card hobby in the UK or Europe. It's just giving these guys access to do stuff. Now, admittedly, the release wasn't exactly something that little Timmy's going to be able to pick up in the supermarket or the shopping mall. But it is a bit frustrating that in the UK it's just been. I mean, it's even ghastlier. I could send you screenshots. There's this one post I just alluded to where this bloke posted something, and it was a numbered card, whatever it was. How much you want for it? Oh, I don't know, mate. Shoot me an offer, mate. And the thing is, with English people, when they talk to each other on these groups, they always end it with mate. You guys in America usually end it with bro. But in the UK, which just makes me back over and shut. But in the US,
bro and a middle finger too.
It's bro, yeah, and an aubergine with a wet emoji.
Bro, what are you thinking for the card, bro?
So I'm just
come on, bro. You got a price for me?
This chain that just went on, and it was hilarious. I did share it with someone, which is why I'm scrolling on my phone, because it just made me laugh. I can't bloody find it now because it was days ago. And this guy's just going backwards and forwards with people, and in the end, everyone's just getting really fed up with him. It's like, mate, you've obviously got a number in mind. Just tell us. It's just ridiculous. But this is the thing: these guys don't know what Marvel cards do. They don't know the market, So, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a weird one. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Someone said, "Oh, I'm looking to buy Topps Marvel Chrome numbered cards." So people are posting stuff, and he's replying price, and I have no idea, mate. Is usually the response coming back. Open to an offer. What do you think on it, mate? You with a U rather than YOU.
Right.
Response: posts a numbered Daredevil card. Price? No idea, mate. Looking for some help if possible. So literally, no one's got a clue. No one's got an absolute clue. I mean, at least
there's no rules of engagement. Yeah.
No, there's nothing whatsoever. And honestly speaking, I can't see any of these guys ever being Marvel collectors. They're just people who buy and rip, do stuff.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
their thing. So yeah, so I don't know. Who knows? It's frustrating. I mean, Ben, bless him, Ben, who's on screen now, is a UK collector. He's fairly new to Marvel cards. Yeah, I mean, he's on the screen there. It made me a bit sad living in the UK. Finally, have something I can buy, but not being able to. There's someone that doesn't like Spade. I'm not sure what that means. Is that a mistype? Am I misreading that?
Isn't
Anyone know what that means?
It's not a British term, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I thought it was a British term.
No, I'm looking at it. I'm looking
out
for
all
you
these
guys to help.
spades.
I've got no idea what he's talking about, but I know what the first part of it means. Spider-Man, not Spade. There we go.
Thank you, sir.
Right, Spade is the new Spider-Man baddie. He just hits you over the head with a shovel. It may be a bit sad. Finally, I have something I can buy here, but not being able to as someone that doesn't like Spider-Man bought all the boxes. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, you get that with a lot of things like trainers and PS5s or whatever the latest release is. Someone always buys them to sell them.
And I have to imagine, like, it's Marvel is just a little bit more established with Upper Deck, I think, when everything really got going, especially by 2016. So with Topps doing this now, there was going to be an element of this. There are going to be these guys who are buying up, your bots, if you will, that are buying up mass quantities, and there's a little bit of that with Upper Deck.
Yeah.
Guys buying up massive, and we're just going to have to kind of. But you're right. It doesn't develop it doesn't develop it being under a new production.
No. I mean, I guess to be fair, you've got people who already buy up stock with the express purpose of reselling, that happens. But at least the guys who are, we see them in groups. There are guys who aren't collectors who just do this to kind of, because that's their thing. But it is interesting that at least they kind of know the market. Do you see what I mean? They know what it is that they've got, and they know what makes it special for other people, and they know how to kind of, they know how to conduct the business of what it is they're doing. I guess
I'm really waiting for an original art set from them to have a better feel. This was
right.
This was right off the gate. I don't know what the rush was, so it maybe right out the gate, it's kind of important. So put together, what is their higher end Masterworks for Topps? They have one that's equivalent.
Yeah, for Star Wars. Although I did hear, I don't think they're carrying that on. Finest is another one, but
Finest,
I think that's
Prestige.
Prestige is that one? I don't know. Anyway,
it's something along those lines,
Yeah.
And so that's I'd really like to see. It would have been nice to see them come out with an original art set right out of the gate, to kind of set themselves apart. Because this does have the Star Wars sports feel, and that's okay. Keith was saying, opportunity for new. It's going to be tough to not see masterpieces around, but there'll be some new sets, some new things that they do that.
There's this weird feeling too, like this Metal Avengers it feels like a swan song. Like it's one of the best sets I think that Upper Deck's put together, and it's like, where have you been?
Yeah.
Like, why'd you do this to us?
They had to nail that sooner or later.
Yeah, I know Jason's waist deep in the muck right now with that set. He's absolutely
I've backed off a little bit.
It's like, where's it been? Like, how? Like, why'd you do this to us now? Why'd you get your stuff together now? Why'd you figure this out? There's one thing wrong with that entire set, and it's the periodics. Everything else is gorgeous.
Yeah, I love it.
What's wrong with the periodics, you think?
Versus the X-Men ones, I thought that the X-Men ones were handled much better. Outside of some centering issues that they had, I really love the look of. Somebody posted in the group. They have like 4 cards left to do the whole periodic set from X-Men Metal.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
And it's just gorgeous. And this set, this iteration of it in this set, it just doesn't. It would have been cool if it matched, and it doesn't match.
Too shiny, you think? Like I know there's so much color in the X-Men set, and that's one thing that pulled me to like all the color.
Just I don't know why they changed the format. It was one of those it's not broke things, with the Jesus, why can't I think of them? With all the other inserts that they copied, any other insert that they copied from X-Men Metal that's in this new metal, they did a good job of carrying them over.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they changed this one, and I was like, well, why did you like the Geodes? They look freaking great.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point. A lot of the inserts,
great. All those inserts look great, and they made a little tweaks here and there in some aspects, but they made a big tweak on the periodics.
Oh, what's he got?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hang on a minute. Let me just.
It's like the shadow box.
It's like shadow box.
Soldier's Metal.
Metal, But it's I got that in a blaster, but that's something new they did this year. But you got like, they're kind of a cutout, and you've got the shields, the shiny shield behind it, and anyway, it's a fun insert out of that.
That's cool.
But a lot of those inserts got better in the Metal universe, from the gems to the medallions to jambalayas, and some of them switched up a little bit and kept it fresh, or the backgrounds of the jambalayas. And Avengers Metal has felt like, just like he said, it was just getting there. It was getting better and better and better, and the timing is sure a shame for it to be now. But at least they went out with a bang. They still going out swinging too.
And we don't know what else is creeping.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, there's sets coming out like they just dropped a Hawkeye, right? So there's on EPAC, and
I didn't think that was going to make EPAC, to be fair.
Ian, you've been buying some of that, right?
Yeah, I had a little go. I got an auto in my first pack, actually. It's been downhill since then.
I bought probably
did exactly the same.
I bought probably close to 2.5 boxes of Hawkeye.
Yeah, okay. I've only done about.
I don't know why the hell I did that, because I don't know what I'm doing with it, but it was
2.5 boxes. I saw one
It
of
is
those
cheap.
Christmas bulb cards, and I was like,
It's
oh.
$5.99 a pack.
And it's one of the best looking recent MCU sets or TV show sets. And I think I was just playing the roulette to get an autograph and didn't happen, but
I see. You're the only person I know that didn't happen to, so I think you're
I
quite
know.
unlucky. That many, because they have been hitting reasonably well.
I know. I got a 1 in 10, base parallel of Haley Steinfeld, so I'll probably rainbow that.
Yeah, may as well. It's fun. It's fun. Like
I hope
said,
they
it's cheap.
continue that in some way. The show.
Yeah, it'd be good. I mean,
Yeah.
Renner's back on his feet now. I mean, he did Mayor of Kingstown season 3, which we haven't watched yet, but that's the first thing he'd filmed.
I did. It's fantastic.
Yeah, is it good?
Yeah.
Good.
I need to watch that.
I love that. It's dark.
I love
It's
it.
dark, but it's really good. But oh boy, is it dark. Right. So we haven't got any more questions on the comments. But
I do have one thing to note on the top stuff also.
Go.
It's the death of AP. You guys know, right? There is no AP.
Artist Truth.
for
Yeah,
sketches.
I'm with it. Yeah.
They are not issuing APs whatsoever. What you get is what you get. So that's a little sad for me too. As someone that likes to get what he wants and has gotten into sketch more than even anything else from the cards because it's been better for me and more fun for me. It's a little nerve-wracking to know that what's there is what's there and that's it.
Yeah.
And I know why. We all know why because Topps has
Yeah.
gone through it with people mishandling Star Wars IPs and nudies and all that stuff and just bad representations of their characters on their stock, worse than we've seen in Marvel.
Mhm.
So it's a little sad to know that that's it. What's there is there. The well is dry.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason is because they people had misused or with some
the abuse that happens in the Star Wars community to the AP stock is way worse than what we've seen in Marvel.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things with the Topps licenses that it has to be photoreal. The portrayals of the actors, which is the opposite with Upper Deck. They're not allowed to do any photoreal stuff of any of the actors on stock. It gets rejected. So I know it sounds bizarre. As in it has to look like Mark Hamill. It has to look like Mark Ruffalo. It has to look like Chris Evans. So if you ever see Marvel stock with photorealistic visuals of Scarlett Johansson, for example, it's clearly Scarlett Johansson. And someone's done a really good.
They'll get rejected. Yeah.
It's an aftermarket. Because it simply wouldn't have been approved. Whereas from the flip side of that, with Topps, it has to look, and it's you do get some sketch cards on the Star Wars side when you look at it and you're like, really? You've just maybe got it in there. If you squint and look at it from an angle, maybe it is Mark Hamill. I don't know. Harrison Ford is the one that people always seem to get the closest to not quite getting right, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I don't know. It's a weird one. I don't know why. I have a feeling with the Topps side of things, I think that's a legacy thing. Because you got to remember that Topps have been doing those cards since 1977.
It just limits so much. The amount of movies you get to put out there is you get few cracks at the apple. So these artists are limited to depictions of characters that are so small of a bank compared to on the Marvel side, they could go crazy. They could do what they wanted to do.
Who's Mark Hamill? Mark Hamill. At least I've met Mark Hamill.
The other one works in a different type of films. This one.
Yeah, Mark Hamill. It's like the actor that was in Shaving Ryan's Privates rather than or the Loin King. Anyway, and many more.
Those titles came from memory.
Yeah, they did as well. Yes. Interesting question, Ben. Will we normally be able to order top sets on pre-order for a period before it sells out, rather than the draw thing? I don't think they normally do the draw. I think that draw thing was certainly more unique to the UK releases because they did a Disney release last year, and I think they used that kind of queuing. It's like a draw. Yeah, it was a raffle thing. Basically, because I went through it, I didn't get any boxes from me. I got them from someone else, but I was successful in getting 2 boxes. But basically, what you do is you sign up, you put your name and address in, you say how many boxes you want. You've got a maximum of 2, so the options are either 1 or 2, and then you put your credit card details in, and and it automatically just picks people at random at a certain time the following day. So it's not like it ever goes live on a site for you to click buy and put it in your cart and go through all that. That part doesn't happen at all. So, and I often, if you think about the absolute shit show that was year 1 of Unbound, especially Spider-Man Week, can you imagine how much better it would have been for everyone? I mean, you'd have still had people complaining, but how much better it would have been for everyone if they'd done it that way? Because it's just, luck of the draw. You get what you get, and it saves people. I mean, even stops the site from crashing, which is So anyway, but I think it's the fairest way to do it. But yeah, Jake's here with the info. The draw is for special sets usually. Well, we like to think we're special in the Marvel world. We are. Have you boys seen the top soccer sets, which are 10 to 12k? I wonder if they do a Marvel one with auto. I'm not sure what you mean there, Jake. You mean they're 10 to 12k like to start with, or they get that very quickly on the secondary? Don't know.
I do have a question, Ian, since you're more familiar with the top stuff while we wait for Jake to clarify. Yeah. What's the online aspect? What does Topps have in regards to an e-pack comparison?
They don't. They don't have an e-pack. Yeah. They simply don't. They have a digital. Basically, the concept, we're spoiled, and this is what I think. I think people are going to look back 3 years from now and be saying, "Oh, we didn't realize quite how good we had it in some aspects." Yeah. Because the one thing that no one else has is what Upper Deck do, which is the ability to open stock, albeit a lot more of it is digital now, but it all ladders to a digital thing at the end. Yeah, nothing is purely digital to live in perpetuity as a digital thing. So you can, whatever digital element there is, everything leads to a physical card. Yeah, all roads lead to physical.
Right.
It's entirely the opposite with Topps. Their platform online is it's not even that. It's just they're just digital cards.
So, and we've talked about that platform before, and they could just
collect.
If they really wanted to, just print it.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely awesome. Like
it is.
The cards that they have on there, the art they have on there,
they look awesome. They look great.
Print it.
Yeah,
there's some complication in what they've made up that some of their inserts are and how to make that realize in real life. But holy crap, the cards on that app are fucking gorgeous.
They rock.
They really do have some nice ones on there.
Yeah.
They're missing a huge opportunity to not produce those cards. Nobody is interested in them if they're not tangible.
Well, you say that it's not.
There's an eBay resale market on those.
There is a massive. I so much so on most of my Marvel card searches, I've had to go minus Topps on the search phrases.
Yes,
because people do sell the stuff from there. I don't think you're supposed to, but no, we're not supposed to sell cards that are on e-pack, and we do. So. It's like taping songs off the radio. God, I sound old, but it's illegal, but everyone does it. But here's the thing: Topps Collect is I mean, you go and have a listen to some of the Star Wars podcasts and have a look at that. It's thriving, and they give you a certain amount of free stuff, so you can do quite a lot of free stuff in the app. But once you get to the point where you're dropping coin, oh boy, people drop coin. But as Jason Machera said on episode 51, maybe 52 of this podcast, when he came on, it's the only time we've ever had him on. Jason, I'd love to have you on again, but it's probably a little bit too fresh at the moment, so hashtag too soon. But he spoke about the fact that, and it's true, and it's happened before, digital collecting card platforms have just been sunset overnight, and people have lost collections worth tens of thousands of dollars. Worth, as in that's how much they pumped into it over the 3, 4, 5 years or so they're doing. So not that they're going to, because I think Topps are pretty stable as a company, is my understanding. I don't think they're going anywhere. They've got all that juicy Fanatics money. They're owned by Fanatics now. But if they decided to sunset Topps Collect, Marvel Collect, whatever it's called, yeah, gone. And Jason was very keen. You know, Jason said that they were very keen to avoid that with EPAC. So, you know, while we've done episodes where we speculated about the fact that, okay, what if EPAC suddenly went and, but, you know, by all means, it's having a wobble as we speak, actually. No one's been able to trade or look at collections all morning. But it's, I think we're quite blessed that we can buy stuff without having to worry about shipping, without having to worry about distributor prices, without having to worry about, I mean, it's nice to go to the local comic book store or LCS, whatever the acronym is, and buy stuff. And I think with Topps, you will be able to do more of that. And that's the thing. Topps, their distribution verticals are very, very strong on physical. You know, we talked about this last time. They've got the Walmart, they've got the Target sewn up. You know, they're everywhere you've been going to look for your Marvel blasters. I bet they've had a whole range of different Topps products.
Yeah, more Topps. Yeah, more Topps products. And
I think every LCS that you've been to, and they might have had, oh, we didn't order any of that Marvel set, or we didn't order this, or I might order some for you in special, Wesley, because I know you're up for that. But I guarantee you've got some Star Wars in there.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? I mean, they've got that sewn up. They've never let that go, if you like. They've fostered that and pushed that. So I think, it'd be interesting. How you get your cards will definitely change. But yeah,
so you think that'll be good for exposure, right? Like, so maybe we'll get more collectors that way.
Possibly, yeah. I just think it's just gonna change the way people collect. And there's a really good question that speaks to that. I'm going to come on to in a minute. But just one final point about those digital platforms, not the Topps one necessarily, because I haven't played with that. But when I first started getting into NFL, I opened a pack of Panini Contenders. Beautiful cards, really nice. And there was a thing in there to sign up for their. I signed up for their app, and I haven't touched it in about 4 years. But you started going through, and you get a certain amount of free credit, and you can get digital packs of Contenders, which is great. But then I started opening digital autograph cards and digital. Here's the thing: a digital swatch from Game Used, exactly the same looking as the ones that came in the packs. And I'm like, what's the point of that? I mean, seriously, what's the point of that? Because it's not real. I'm never going to be able to get it. It doesn't exist because it's just a digital thing. So it's like a duplicate copy of what they've done physically, but down to the autos and the patches. It just doesn't make sense to me. In the same way that it doesn't make sense to have cards that are seemingly signed by Daredevil or Iron Man in this Topps Chrome set. Right. And they've really missed a trick by not having the Daredevil one as Braille. So, and they're surprisingly consistent. They're surprisingly consistent. But anyway, so I think, and the reason I think they haven't come out with sorry, I'm catching up with all sorts of thoughts from earlier. The reason I don't think they've had a original art one is I just don't think they've had the lead time. You forget it's 2.5 year lead time for those original art sets.
Sure.
Because you've got to commission the artists. They're all working at different paces. They all might be in different parts of the world. It's got to go through all the approvals.
Yeah, it's more than twice the difficulty to do an original art set, and probably more than twice the time frame.
Yeah. So getting something out to say, okay, Marvel, we're getting some stuff out. New license holder. Keep them sweet. Let's get that out in Europe, and we've got that product out, and look how well it's selling on secondary. Do you see what I mean? You just see the money potential of it. Look how much money there is if we keep doing this. Because that means that the next time we release a Chrome, we can sell it for twice, 3 times more. Direct to consumer, not via distributor, because they don't use all those Go GTS and David Adams. I don't believe they do anyway. But no, it's interesting. It's going to change the game ultimately.
Yeah. If like Keith said, if they could start making a physical option for some of the digital stuff they have, some of these cards are fantastic. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They are really nice looking.
Yeah.
But there's some of us that it's just a perfect example.
Yeah,
Some of these cards are awesome.
Jason's just showing that.
They're not going to be the same to us unless there's a physical at the end of the rainbow. It's not going to be the same. You know, there is a market for them. There's a market for NFTs and market for, but man, we at the end of the day, it's got to go in a display with some LEDs and whatever else. However, you know, people just want that physical card that backs the value for a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the tangibility of it, I guess. I do apologise for the fact that every time I put a question on screen, it completely wipes out most of Keith's head and half of Wesley's.
No, it's all right, because as we were talking, and if you've seen me looking down, I re-downloaded Topps Collect because I was looking for the examples that Wesley showed. Jason showed.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing too. Was I was trying to log back into Topps Collect. So.
Did you figure it out? Because I tried. And
that's what. So that's what I meant. There'll be a challenge when it comes to some of the effects that they use.
Yeah.
Right.
Besides that,
I did. You know,
out of the park.
Yeah, they can mess around with the holographics. They can do some things, and you know, and you know, these cards are nice. They're edgy. They're different.
And they've got borders built in, like everything. They've got different color effect, or everything's done.
It's ready to go. It's ready to go. I can tell you, this is 3.5 by 2.5. You know, good cutting. I don't know, but
like
that Moon Knight is awesome. That Wolverine is awesome.
You're holding up bones. It's like a Taylor Swift concert. You're all there like this,
But they are. If you take, I mean, that Moon Knight there has got something to it. If you could produce that card in so many different ways, a metallurgy type thing. You could do it as an acetate. And there's just a few different options to make that a really, really nice card that doesn't seem like everything else, that has an original kind of Topps feel to it, and what they can do. Just produce these cards, guys. Just please make them physical. Because I see so many of them that are just wow. They got a wow factor to it. And it's not about the shimmer of the phone. I mean,
yeah, and there's some images that, like, I mean, some of them I'm going through it now. We've seen on Upper Deck cards, but then some images we haven't seen before that Topps uses. So, but
yeah, they're onto some stuff.
That's a really interesting question from Pete. TC Wallets and more. All who are character collectors going to stick with the same type of collecting as it changes to Topps. There's a lot of people talking of changing how they collect.
I mean,
I've spoken about this. I know what my answer is, but I'll let you guys go first.
It's a good point too. It's a good time to kind of reassess what how you do it. That's for sure. And I think this actually made me think there was a point, Ian, where you guys had talked about there's like 4 stages of collecting, right?
Yeah. I can't remember what it was we were talking about now.
Yeah. The point to where you.
I'll find it. I'll find it. Don't you worry. I've got it up here in my notes section.
It's right next to sketch card algebra. Hold on.
I should have done the research myself.
I'll find it. I've got it in here.
It's basically, it points to that reassessment phase. I think is one of them, to where you kind of start out and you buy everything, and then you kind of slim down, and then you reassess, and then you.
Here we go. Yeah,
you got it.
It's actually
you got to get the steps right.
It's 5-step cycle. So this was on. Did a state of the hobby thing at the start of 2023 in the old incarnation of this podcast, and the cycle I came up was the phase 1, discovery and overreaching, because you want to buy everything. Phase 2, more discovery and realignment, when you start to figure out exactly what you want and you kind of start leaning into that a bit more. Phase 3, reduction and finessing. Phase 4, contented curation. And phase 5, rediscovery. That was, you can go back and listen to those. It's a lot more detailed and explained, and we go into it. Loads of people fed into it from all over the hobby. It's a really good. I'm really proud of that. Actually, it's a really good three-parter. But
It's good. It's really good.
On the contented curation part of it, and that's the one that's caught a lot of people's imagination. And I think that's where I'm at now with it. But I've been a little bit more three-legged dog in a forest than I'd like over the past 12 months because of the volume of stuff coming out. So I'm actually kind of using this as an opportunity I am taking that off ramp personally. I'm sure Topps will eventually gear up to produce some stuff that I'll be tempted to come back to, but I've been easing off of the original art and kind of that side of thing anyway. I've been leaning much more towards the autos, both Marvel and other non-sport like Star Trek and various other IPs over the last 3 years. So I can see myself going much more that way. But in terms of Black Cat, I've already let a lot of things slide by from this Topps Chrome set because I think I might be done.
I don't have
me too.
one Fleer Ultra Wolverine X23 card, not one. And
That's crazy for you to
That
say.
is, yeah.
And I thought it was going to be the set that ruins me. And it's not that I don't want them. I just don't feel like there's any urgency.
Mm.
Yeah.
But if you're not feeling the call of the wild, as it were, then you're not going to go out and howl at the moon, are you?
No.
Mixing up his metaphors massively.
I anticipated that set to be the death of me. And instead, I was just like, okay, those are cool.
Yeah.
And I'll get them when I'm ready. I'll get what I want.
Yeah. But I tell you what, that having that mental switch that flicks, either doing it out of choice or doing it because he's and suddenly you realize, oh fuck, I've actually turned a corner here. I remember the first time that happened to me. I was like, wow, okay. So you're saying that I don't need to have this set also in silver, rainbow, gold, green, blue, and purple, all 100 cards, and need to find a new room of my house and build a new wing of the house to store them in. Once I got to, that was my first moment of realization, with the light shining, angelic light shining down on me, and, the scales falling away. And, doing the smaller elements of the set and the rainbows. So, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm actually, I'm offloading a lot of stuff because much as I love the Flair 95 base set, I think, because he hasn't replied since I sent him the videos, but I think I'm about to sell it to Wesley along with the binder.
Yeah.
I didn't have many of the chase cards, but those are what I'm going to focus on and complete. Do you see what I mean? So I've actually kind of almost renamed the binders. They're going to be collector's choice because it's I'm not gonna go right. Free Art Spider-Man 95. I have to have the whole set.
Sure.
I'm just gonna go. I just want those two chase elements from it, and I'll have all those kind of the nicer bits together, all the kind of the choice cuts, if you like. So that's what I'm kind of at the stage I'm at now, because those base cards, they're never going to go away. Those base sets, there's thousands of them out there. They're going to be loved, and I can acquire them again. But I'm driving myself mad trying to collect all that, especially when I don't have time to look at it.
And Upper Deck did it. Like we talked about this in a prior show. It might have been even my first guest appearance. Like they also did this to me as well by oversaturating the inserts, where I'm like, I'm not playing your game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to play your game, Upper Deck. Thank you for trying. You almost got me. You almost had me.
The Ghost Riders, Midnight Suns, fiasco.
Just by making so many inserts, it just put a sour taste in my mouth. And I think I said that X-Men Metal was the last feasibly rainbowing set that you could have. And after that, it's gotten murky.
Yeah.
It has gotten.
I will say that X23 for 22 masterpieces was probably that. I mean, man,
I locked up. I locked up everything I needed from that.
Yeah.
But since then, I think that might be the last card I bought even. No, I bought some sketches here and there. Who am I kidding?
But that's how I try to do. Like, I'm just looking for a few choice cards on my character. You know, granted, there's different style as a pose card as opposed to an action card. So you want a few different styles of cards. But other than that, with all the releases and the way things have been going, it's. I mean, you just drive yourself into a big bill. So sometimes, especially with Topps taking things over, take a step back, give yourself a chance to, maybe chase a B or C list character that's not going to put you too far into the hole with a new type of, product that you're not too familiar with on how the value is going to stick after. I think we need about a year or maybe longer to see how that, we've already talked about how they're handling their market, and it's kind of Wild West is what it sounds like. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Go ahead and chase Spider-Man right now with this new Top stuff, and who knows what where that kind of stuff could lead you. Started out at what, $6.25 a box around here.
Yeah.
Wow,
I think Jason does a great job with the way that he collects, because he has his PC people, right? But at the same time, he'll start opening stuff, and whatever he starts acquiring of a character, he's like, okay, let's have some fun with this character in this set. And he'll just grab everything he can get for that character and just has fun with it.
Yeah. And then I get burned out and move on to the next thing.
Yep.
I've got a lot of unfinished sets. So this may be an opportunity once the transition happens from Upper Deck to Topps to kind of go back and build up, stuff I had maybe left on the table, or,
Yeah.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to think about all the sets that have come out that have been like, oh, good grief, we're on to the next one. And I didn't even have a proper chance to look at that. And you can now, and believe me, there's been enough come out over the last 2 years. Honestly, in the last 2 years, we've had more product than we have in the last 10, easily.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty to go back and just reassess. There's plenty of physical stock out there, especially in last year's sets, where a lot of dealers got left with a lot of stock, especially on the MCU side of things, because they had to order a certain number. So for someone like me who's into things like Eternals, I'm going to be dining out on $30 clearance boxes for a long time. That's not good for the hobby in the long term, and it's certainly not good for those dealers.
Right.
But it's good for me as a collector.
Yeah, that dilution is good. That dilution is good for a lot of collectors. Yeah,
but at the same time, there is stuff that's far more popular. That I mean, look at Spider-Man Metal Universe prices now. Look at Avengers Metal Universe prices already. How much have they gone up in the last few weeks? Because it's drying up. Platinum physical now. It's pretty difficult to get platinum physical. Albeit you can still spend on some overpriced digital versions on eBay, but but there's still legs in that product, and people still enjoy collecting it. And that's the thing. Platinum, Avengers Metal, people enjoy it. Right? They genuinely enjoy it. They're kind of sweet spots.
And the boxes are loaded.
Exactly. Much like no interest in collecting the set, but boy, what a ride we had opening that beginnings 2.2 set.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how often do you open a pack and you get a plate and a hologram next to each other in the same pack?
Right.
I mean, maybe that's not supposed to happen, but I'll never forget that.
My one box of Avengers Metal had 3 PMGs with 1 green. It was insane. The box was, I mean, that's luck. Obviously, that's luck.
Yeah.
But I opened one, and the Mike from the group, Mike Wanzer, he opened another one, and his box was loaded. It's one of the best box breaks I've had in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I think every box break I've watched for Metal Avengers has been loaded. And I guess it just varies on the level depending on what those higher end cards, what characters are on them. So, some people I think are disappointed when they get, Whirlwind or whatever, instead of, Spider-Man, but you're still getting a PMG. You're still getting, all kinds of crazy stuff in those boxes.
Speaking of Ben from Surrey, he's I say Ben from Surrey because that's what his email is titled. So Ben Marshall is on the screen now, the UK guy. He's obviously very sensible. He's got his monthly budget, focuses me on what I really want, that helps me and my marriage in commas. So yes, I'm sure it does. Speaking of which, Ben has sent us a joke on email. Are you sitting down, folks? Because it ain't a good one. What do you get when Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk go to IKEA? Avengers Assemble.
Oh, Jesus.
Keith is wishing he'd stayed in bed.
Wow.
It's like what did Black Widow say to Hawkeye? You make me quiver. You make me quiver.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
No, stop.
Right. And Ben also did send some questions. So it's a slight change of and that's the thing with these hobby questions. It steers us all the way around the place. I think we've all talked about this in different ways. But how did you all find your PC? Now, obviously, Ben's asking because he's at a fairly embryonic stage of his journey. So he goes on to say, I have it just about down to my 10 favourite characters. 10?
Oof.
Fucking hell, kid.
Yikes.
But Nightcrawler is woefully...
It's expensive on a monthly budget.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But Nightcrawler is woefully underrepresented. In brackets, why? Religion? So maybe does Nightcrawler have an identifiable religion? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he's a preacher, right?
Yeah.
He's Catholic.
He's a Catholic.
Oh,
yeah,
I just know he bamps
priest.
around from
Yeah, I think it even actually doesn't it go back to also like with when he teleports, where he goes when he teleports? Doesn't it have some sort of demonic?
Possibly, yeah.
He goes to some kind of crazy dimension.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if he's like a practice, because he's had girlfriends and stuff, which priests aren't, that's not allowed, but he is a devout Catholic.
Yeah.
In the movies, been depicted that way.
Yeah.
But Nightcrawler is woefully underrepresented, so I'd go Mystique if forced. I mean, twisting your arm there. I really do love. You just pretend all of the cards are Mystique. There's your answer.
Yeah, someone said that actually in group once.
I've just thought of that. I'm quite pleased with myself. I really do love all my few Mystique cards. Love my Flair Ultra Wolverine Mystique base and medallion. So yeah,
I believe that's a partial X23 card.
Yeah, I mean, but I know we have talked about this, but do you I mean, how did you find your PC characters? I mean, I'm not going to go massively back into depth about it, but just to...
I mean, for me, I think it's reading Spider-Man and just the interaction with Black Cat, and then the fact that I was just wondering this not too long ago, that I wonder how many, because the podcast or because there's so many male listeners, like how many female characters are PC. But it I just always thought that she was fun. And then the fact that some of the art, I always like, when somebody can draw, a woman very well and looks good, it's just, I've always had some type of pull to Black Cat and following her. It's just, I think her sassiness, her attitude, her confidence for me. And then I really started getting into it with.
Yeah. Mine came from the comics.
Sure.
Yeah.
When she came out in Marvel and the X-Men universe and stuff, I also loved how edgy they got with it. It was the first time in a while I'd seen some blood. Yeah. And they really made her like vicious. And then when I came over to cards, like initially, truly, Gambit was my original favorite character, hands down. I have a tattoo of him on my leg. Okay. And when I started collecting, I was like, Gambit is expensive. I'm like, I can't do this for long. And there wasn't a lot of him out there, so it was tougher. So I thought to myself, I'm like, well, let me go for the not Wolverine, but Wolverine. And I enjoyed her story. And then that got expensive too. But that was my initial thoughts, was that it came from my comic like for her and the fact that I could not afford all the Gambit stuff. So with Gambit, I kind of sneakily collect him here and there now. And I stick to mostly X-23 because it's just safer monetarily.
For me, it was as soon as everything switched, call it 92-ish, when the first card sets came out. I had collections of comic books, was in comic shops all the time, but I didn't fall in love with some of these like characters like Venom and stuff like Iron Man until I saw my first Marvel cards. Some of the first metal, this first Scarlet Spider, like Flasher that I saw, reading the character bios. It just brought it all down and made it simple to me. Like, I appreciate the art. I want versions of the character. Once I know the backstory, then, I don't need the backstory a million times, which it's nice to be able to revisit. But I'm mainly concerned about new depictions of these heroes and villains. And as soon as I got that mainstreamed, it was, for me, bang. Carnage. That was right when Maximum Carnage came out in the video game world. You started seeing that big Super Nintendo game, I think it might have been. So that McFarlane style of the symbiotes and the clones of Spider-Man, I was hooked. That was it for me.
Jason?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You keep changing your PC character, don't you?
I don't really have a PC character. Like I mean, my PC character is everybody, because I grew up, I've always liked comic book art, and I like comic books, like just you can see behind me, I've got like comics and Spider-Man and blank cover, art covers, and all kinds of stuff behind me. But I like Marvel, I like DC, I like just the form of comic book storytelling, I like the look of the panel. So cards were an easy way to get into that. You kind of learned quick about the different stories and just getting back into it. I just like opening the packs. I like, either putting a set together or finding a fun character or art I like, and putting a little thing, because I kind of always think in display terms. So something that would be a cool display, even if I don't display it. But it's really just that from my childhood, just liking that art and the stories behind it, and kind of just seeing it in the, small format like that. But yeah, I don't really have Marvel's my PC. I don't.
There you go.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, works.
I just read Spider-Man comics when I was just beginning to feel the stir of hormones, and Black Cat was there, and that's all I can say, really.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's your clip of the week right there.
There's a reason why they developed shiny covers in the 90s, and that's one of them. So we're going to move back. We're going to move on. Someone asked a really good question here. So let's pop that on screen. Now, some of you are single gentlemen, so not really an answer here. So I believe Josh, Wesley, and I are possibly the only people that can answer this. Do your spouses or children support your hobby or find you crazy? Someone's immediately answered it in chat. My woman says a little of both. She's allowed me to have this room just to do this sort of stuff. So while she knows I'm crazy, separate to everything else aside, yeah, she's very supportive of me doing this. She probably wouldn't be if she knew how much I spent on cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, But yeah, it's a tricky one. I know so many people in a lot of the collector groups who talk about actually hiding bank statements and having deliveries go to work.
No, yeah, don't do that.
But it's a really big
Yeah.
kind of like thing on some of the male members of the groups. They talk about that quite a lot, and I'm like, if it's at that point, then and I've been at that point. It was a dark time. But yeah.
I've been very lucky because actually when I started collecting Black Cat, I was married and had a small room in the house and went through a lot of that stuff. And now I have probably the best woman I've ever had in my life. I mean, is the best woman I've ever had in my life. And it's
probably.
And I think that shows that shows how you should be open with your. I think you should be. The fact that you can share something like this with your significant other to me, it's amazing. It's an everyday conversation. We send each other, art that we find and see, and she is, loves Marvel, but also is into some of the darker, other comics too, and I can appreciate that stuff. But yeah, I think I'm very lucky to have somebody to be able to share this with. Thank you, Taylor.
So I don't want to interrupt or ruin that really, really open and honest moment. And thank you very much for sharing that with us, Wesley. But what I took from that was that you started collecting when you were married and you had a really small room. Now you're not married. You've got fucking massive space. Is that what you're saying?
Big room. Big room. It's like a museum back there.
And a new woman.
So I'll real quick. I've been in that same exact situation. I had a room in the house dedicated to illuminated displays where all the furniture, she's like, do you have to buy another piece of furniture that you can stick Marvel cards in? Like, but it was a nice guest room, so things happen, things change. I can definitely speak to I've had huge support, because of Jody. I started the Kennedy Comics and went through with, the LLC and getting things going. And she pushed me to go to the Bianchi breakfast. When you're starting a business, you're worried about overhead. You're trying to make sure you've got, advertising budget. You've got all these other things, and to drop, money on trying to invest on going to meet people and get behind the scenes and do stuff like that, get involved with all sorts of different platforms. It's huge to have the support. Because if it's just something your significant other is passionate about, and there's such a positive nature to what we do with this IP, with Marvel, unity, teamwork, Avengers levels threats. You can't handle a lot of stuff by yourself. Look out to others. It's a positive thing we're spreading here. And if it's somebody you care about and you see them putting their efforts and energy into something like this, it's really tough to not understand how good it can be and what they're doing. And it's in a positive light. So definitely don't hide your bank statements. Don't be there. I get it. I've done it. But it's just to not have the weight on your shoulder. You enjoy the hobby even more. You enjoy your collecting even more. You can crank down the amount you're spending to a acceptable level for the misses. But compromise, full disclosure, all that stuff. I really feel like it's the best way to do it.
Right. Speaking of investment, this is a good one, actually. Andrew Nguyen, Southern Hype Collects. I'm going to just take a moment to say congratulations to Andrew, because he is about to have his first child with his beloved.
Hey, congrats!
And I think it's due soon, like October, maybe November. I can't remember. Anyway, he's a dude. Southern Hype Collects. So he's on Whatnot on Instagram, and he was on an episode last year. So yeah, really, really happy for you. Was there a Marvel set that you ever heavily invested in, and he used speech marks, which is why I've done that, in and regretted later. What lessons did you learn? Please share, EPAC or physical.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye, last night, Jason.
I was a little, so we had a hurricane come through Florida, and we were predicted to have a direct hit, and it went a little east and people got devastated. My town lucked out, but I went to my parents' house and they're a little older and a little oblivious. And I stayed with them in case something happened. And they had, anyway, I don't want to get into it, but I stayed 2 nights with them. And I was a little stir crazy when I got home and went a little nuts on the EPAC and the Hawkeye. So,
got home, was like, click, 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 click.
I like, and I may have been drinking, so you know.
Josh.
There we are. That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Oh, they got
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, no, that's I mean, Hawkeye, I don't regret it, but I probably should have scaled that back a little bit. So
not sets, but specific cards. Like I went after PMGs and some other things, and I tried to snatch things up for cheap that I'm certainly now bag holding on. I think I've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of them I like, but for the most part, I messed up in some aspects, and I thought I was buying cards to later turn around and flip them for high money, and here I am. Sets, no. I mean, I went in on X-Men Metal, but I didn't buy that stuff in the aspect of where I thought I was gonna like flip it all.
Mm-hmm. Josh, you've spoken before about just about managing to sell a load of stuff and claw back what you spent, and I can't remember what you were talking about now.
Well, Spider-Man Metal.
That might be that one. Yeah,
Spider-Man Metal. I tried to put together a deal with the LCS and had to pivot at the last moment. I was into a case for large sum, I think somewhere in the vicinity of 5,800 or almost 6, and I struggled to break even. I did, and it was still a great break and great experience, and I got some base for me, but if it hadn't been for, I didn't deal with the quality control that people did with those averages that I was seeing with Spider-Man Metal. That's a big time set. That's a big time character. I mean, I don't got to go into that. And so that one needed to be right. And a lot of people's were a little banged up, to say the least. I got super lucky. Ghost Spider, Platinum Portrait, color match Ghost. It was a Ghost Spider case. Color match Ghost Spider did 1,000. It's insane. And so I got there and did okay, but that was one where that was really a struggle, and I kind of went into that investment mindset with Spider-Man Metal and the PMGs being so hot that the timing all seemed like a perfect storm to go in on a couple cases of that. And it really was, I got there and got some and had an okay experience, but man, I would have liked 2 cases. And little did I know it would have been dangerous to get even more than I did, because wow, did I luck out with the 1. There's no way I would have done that with the 2. Logic doesn't dictate. So if I'd have gotten any more than I did, I would have probably been underneath, on that set.
That set was the beginning of the end for me. I think it's the last thing I kind of like thought I was going to really collect. And a lot of it is there's multiple reasons. 1, we were in a drought with the hobby.
Yes.
Yeah. 2,
yes,
the quote unquote people, let's just say that, really hyped it up. There was a very, very big concerted effort from people that put together content that really hyped that setup. We thought it was going to be amazing. And then there was this instant disappointment with the quality, with things like that. And I was like, whew, dodged a bullet. One thing they got right was that foiling color, right? That was awesome. But besides that, it was a very underwhelming product overall for such a flagship character and a flagship piece of Upper Deck's, product line to be such a failure for them, in my opinion. it was shocking. But like I said, a bullet dodged that I didn't go nuts on that stuff.
The animated series insert was wonderful, but it's a very I'm just going to put it on screen again. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. From Jake, Retroverse, Spider-Man Metal is the worst set ever. I mean, I would argue that the X-Men set preceding it is actually the worst set ever. But that's just me. But I think it's massively flawed. And I do think there's a big sense of irony for me that concerted effort that you mentioned, Keith. And all of the build up to it, the excitement about it, the brand building that happened in various corners of the interweb, and the approach to that set, and it turned out, and I know that people are probably going to disagree with me on this, but for the most part, it was shit.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be the hottest thing on the block, and it was a cold turd.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Art made Bonkard. Grabby Hands, Black Widow. It was just so you got the art choices.
COVID Strange.
The execution of it was. I mean, I like the blasters aspect of it. Don't get me wrong, but I think I don't think I'm wrong in saying that Fleer Ultra Avengers is probably the low point of the Fleer Ultra line that Upper Deck have done. Some people might argue and say Midnight Suns hold my beer, but I know people who are going deep into Midnight Suns. I don't know anyone who's going deep into Fleer Ultra Avengers.
So Midnight Suns was an improvement.
I think Midnight Suns was an improvement. Even Fleer Ultra Avengers looks like hot fried shit compared to Spider-Man Metal. Yep. And no disrespect to any of the artists on Fleer Ultra Avenger, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. You did the best job you could. You really did. But if someone takes your painting and puts it on the side of a bus covered in smoke, then what are you going to do?
Fleer Ultra Avengers was on EPAC for a while.
Still is, isn't it?
I think it finally sold out.
Yeah. Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah. People are still chasing Midnight Suns on EPAC, but people are really going wild for Wolverine.
Yeah, no one's buying Midnight Suns. Everyone's buying Wolverine.
Yeah,
is the headline of the week. But yeah, no, Spider-Man Metal, and I just don't associate Spider-Man Metal with a high point for the community.
No, all around,
right?
And I would say there are other sets that have been equally divisive and I would say detrimental to the community. Masterpieces 22. Oh, excuse me, sorry. But that's just my personal view. Other people would have a completely different lived experience in relation to each of the sets that we're talking about here. So, it's all subjective. But you're wrong.
Yep.
What was it Jake was saying? If the price, it's the prices. If the boxes were $100, we'd love them. Yeah, to be fair, you're probably right as well there, Jake.
That was a factor too. I remember when the pricing came, when that hype train was rolling and pushing, and then that first price drop came, I was like, whoa, I'm at this. I'm not playing with this.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I ended up buying one base card from Spider-Man Metal, and he's Spider-Man's my favorite character, but the prices on that and seeing what the X-Men set had looked like, and then just the price of the Spider-Man. Now, if there were blasters available in my town, I may have gotten a little bit more into it, but
I think I bought some blasters and I did one break of a box. But
that sets a blind spot for me. I just didn't really.
Yeah. When your green PMG is the Nick Fury, not the right Nick Fury, shit face.
The hammered Nick Fury.
The shit face Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Man, you want to throw it against the box against the wall.
In
case. But somehow scratch back to the surface. I don't know how I made it.
So I'm gonna go into this. So someone did send the flip side question to this. Someone did ask us what we think that the best set that came out in the Upper Deck tenure was. While you think on that, Pete on chat comments has said, excluding Metal, worst set ever. Now, Jake Retroverse has immediately gone into say overpowering verses, but I'm going to exclude those, Jake, because they're TCGs. They're not. Yeah,
That's fair.
they're not. You know, they're not
different.
trading cards. They're TCGs. But so basically, Jake, you're wrong. So yeah, so let's do worst set. So worst set ever. So we're not talking about Upper Deck tenure here. Ooh.
It can be any worst set ever of
Marvel?
Yeah, from anywhere. I mean, I guess we could do Upper Deck tenure as well. I mean, it might well be from the Upper Deck tenure. I'm going to say Kree Scroll War. And it's difficult for me to say that because I haven't got my teeth in. But yeah, Kree Scroll War was pretty bad. See, this is how much of a hashtag pushing positivity experience this is. No one can think of negative things to say.
I mean, you could pick apart any set you want, and
trying to find the worst of them is difficult.
And it's subjective as well, because there are sets that we've had a negative experience with versus ones that we think are genuinely bad.
Right.
So I've gone for Kree Scroll War, and I'd also, if I'm going to say Upper Decks 10, well, that was an Upper Deck set. It was a really early Upper Deck set. It was when they were kind of they had co-parenting of the Marvel license with Rittenhouse at that point. But exclusively, I'm gonna have to say the Allegiance one, Avengers versus X-Men.
Yes, that I was just gonna say that, and you beat me to it.
For the same reasons as Kree Scroll War, because it's too focused on that storyline and just the art from that storyline, and as a result, it suffers. It's not a satisfying product for anyone other than the few people really invested in that storyline are, in my opinion.
And they did a crap job with it overall too. I remember, the art being pulled had panel lines on it still. Like they still had.
Yeah.
It was just. Ugh. And I love that line. I read that whole thing from front to back.
Yeah.
And I still was like, well, this is crap.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, that's in terms of actually what I think of the product. Ones that I've had a bad experience with are different, so I'm not gonna kind of go there.
I'll say annual. I've always looked at annual, and there's certainly cards out of each set that I like. But as an overall product that comes out every year, I drag my head, and I'm kind of like, it's not supposed to be, I don't know, even a mid-tier or certainly not a premium set, but
no, it's low end.
It feels so much. It feels so entry level to it that I guess you need to have a set you can buy for a cheap cost to give to the kids.
It ebbs and flows, though. I think there have been some terrible ones, and then there have been improvements, and then they've been terrible. Like it's not a consistent product for sure.
Yeah. Right. It goes up and down. Like I think Ian, did you hit that rocket? Wasn't that, what was that you just opened? You got the holographic raccoon.
Oh, that was on Beginnings. Right?
Beginnings. So even Beginnings has a little bit of a feel to it where you can kind of see some things in there that I like, that, some of the parallels are, that rocket you hit was beautiful. With annual, I struggle, man. I to even find a parallel I really like. And
I wasn't a fan of Beginnings either, though.
Yeah.
And I think any of the entry level stuff is usually what I struggle with the most, but at the same time, I want to complain about prices. So, what am I doing?
Yeah.
To add on to that, though, to throw one out there that probably no one will expect me to say is I was not a fan of 2007 Marvel Masterpieces. The 07, 08, set 1, set 2.
Right.
There's a gap that doesn't count.
So this was Josh's
there we go.
final.
Right, there we go. We've lost Josh. I'm afraid. I think
I'm just being honest with you.
Oh goodness.
I of course I have it. Of course I have it. But that was, for me, it was just too many in that set that just didn't land with me. I was already,
especially the 08 ones. Yeah.
I was already expecting to see some of the sports card because my collecting was much deeper into sports at that time, and I was already waiting to see some of these parallels from the sports card world cross over. And then, you know, in 2016, there was no going back from the quality of, you know, producing cards on 100 PT and doing things serial numbered the way they did. I wanted that in 07, 08, and it was absolutely doable. And so that one set for me is just the one masterpiece set that none of them are cheap. None of them are junk. I will say that. But that one to me had that not premium feel to it.
Yeah.
And so I just
see, this is where it goes back to subjectivity, because 07 was my starting point in Marvel cards.
Okay.
So for me, it's like it will go into my tomb with me, you know. So, but I imagine we won't be buried anywhere near each other based on that.
That did make me think about, you know, when I got into heavy into the cards was Spider-Man Metal. You know, I always read comic books as a kid, but so I really didn't think Spider-Man Metal was all that bad, and I was very happy to see that they changed the foiling on the PMGs, because I saw the PMGs from the X-Men Metal, and it was like, what is this color? But that did. I was looking at some sets, talking about investments. To go back to a previous question, I did have I went and I spent some money thinking that I was going to be able to get some of it back, buying a 16 Marvel Gems box, and at the time I think they were like $1,100. Yeah, and I just got, you know, 5 cards of nothing. I mean, just what that was one that kind of let me down. But
that's a product I'm sad I missed out on.
And that's we go back to the kind of the best of the Upper Deck era. Marvel Gems, it had some elements to it that were batshit crazy. Let's not beat around the bush. But it's the first exquisite cards that Marvel had, and they are gorgeous with the Ariel Olivetti art.
If you're looking for gems, contact Mike. He's got a palette.
Yeah, I know. He's hooked me up with
the largest stock I've ever seen of gems. Just to go over and look at it was a treat.
Needs. Yeah, and the base card. So it's only a 60 card base set, and I'm now 4 away from finishing it. I've got all the hard ones out of the way.
Yeah.
With a set that rare,
beautiful.
Very rarely do you get an opportunity to see it all laid out in front of you.
Yeah.
Every base, every parallel, and then you start to really appreciate how limited even the bases are. And the art all rocks. The cards are sharp. They're really sharp. They're really clean, man. A killer set that just kind of slipped through the radar. And
I need to get some of the Madam Hydra from that set. And then she's got an exquisite, but they call her Viper on the exquisite. But
I always wondered who that was. Okay, right, I'm with you.
Exquisites are awesome, man. Those things are nice.
I don't know if I've got a worse set, because I may not like something, but then I'll buy more packs of it or another blaster of it. So it's like, you know, but I know that, like, I know I'm underwhelmed by certain things, like some of the kind of MCU shows, those sets, because I do like the MCU stuff, and you know, like a lot of those are a little underwhelming. I would say Avengers was underwhelming.
Fleer Ultra Avengers?
Fleer Ultra Avengers was a little underwhelming, but I bought, you know, black. It was still kind of a fun break, because you got that orange parallel. You got some cool stuff in it. But yeah, like I was really kind of disappointed with Spider-Man Far From Home, because Spider-Man Homecoming was really nice MCU set, and this one just that Far From Home I was really looking forward to, and it was just not a lot of parallels and like harder chases. So, you know, that's, you know, my 2 cents.
I mean, there's definitely underrated.
Sorry,
Karen. Okay.
No, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
I've never been into any of the MCU stuff. I've always liked the comic art and stuck to that.
Yeah, I like the comic art. I mean, I like both of it, but just I'm always a little more pleased with the comic art stuff and when I first got into Upper Deck and to collecting again, a lot of those early MCU sets were really nice. They had some nice parallels, foiling, a lot more images from the movie, some cool inserts, some that tied more into the comic aspect, because like the Black Panther set's nice, Spider-Man Homecoming, Doctor Strange, those all looked really good. And then there was a shift, and it seemed like they just didn't spend as much time with them. And so, because I saw what you could do with the MCU stuff, and now like Black Diamond, obviously
Diamond.
That's what I was. That's on the tip of my tongue. I was
Yeah.
letting you. There is an exception, and that's Black Diamond. Yes,
Those were awesome. Hold up to just about anybody's criteria as far as quality and presentation, and the card overall is just
quality
awesome.
is amazing.
The Black Diamonds were so good, and I'm with Keith. I'm just not an MCU guy. I want the comic art, but I look at those and I could absolutely. I had the Red Iron Man for a while. Like that, some of those are really nice.
it's the only set I made money off of.
Interesting.
I went sketch hunting and I got a couple good hits and I sold it all and I definitely beat my investment.
Oh yeah, timing wise as well, because it just hit as COVID came out physically, and EPAC was in COVID period, so we were still like 6 months in at that point, and so the market was just up at the time you would have been selling those, I imagine. So people were hungry for stuff. Now I've been trying to offload a few elements of Black Diamond. I've chosen not to continue, and no one's buying. Yeah,
there's so much hitting.
There's so much out there at the moment.
It's a raging river right now.
It is absolutely bonkers. But no, I think there are a lot of sets that Upper Deck have done that are very underappreciated and maybe off a lot of people's radar. There was in fact it was the first EPAC set, I believe, that Marvel, the first EPAC exclusive, and I think it was the first Marvel set on EPAC, Captain America 75th. It was EPAC exclusive, and a lot of folks either don't know about it or haven't seen them. They're gorgeous. They're really nice. The quality of them is just phenomenal.
So yeah, I missed out on that one, but I recently, like, I don't know, back in January, I bought a red foil card on ComC that was serial numbered. It was an SP, but it was Strange Tales 159, or it's got Captain America and Nick Fury fighting. And I used to have that comic, so I like that comic. And then I bought the base and the white foil recently to have a little nice rainbow. And the foiling on those are, especially the white foil, is really nice on those cards.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if it might even be the same vendor that did Marvel Gems, because Marvel Gems was only the previous. In fact, no, it was the same year. So it wouldn't be at all surprised if it's the same vendor they had make those cards, and they're just beautiful. Absolutely, I know Upper Deck probably use a couple of different vendors for the different types of sets they use, but whoever they sent Marvel Gems, Captain America 75th, and Black Diamond to, gold star in terms of the foiling application, because those guys absolutely nailed it wherever that factory is. But yeah, no, that's an interesting one. Keith is with us. Keith Boyle, the MCU Rule Breaker set. What If? Yeah, I mean they had a lot of fun with What If. They did well with that. I mean,
that was really fun.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who are like you two guys on the bottom row went into that, who aren't necessarily MCU people, but it was it had that sweet spot where they were just having fun. They had a baseball style insert. They had a Marvel Universe 90s style insert. They had a Black Diamond insert. They had acetates. They had Captain Carter. Yeah, Hydra Stompers. They're brilliant. Yeah. Medallions. The Battle Spectra from that.
They did have Battle Spectra.
Yeah.
The Battle
and they're
Spectra.
gorgeous. They're really nice. They're actually in one of my masterpieces binders because I consider them to be they're thin stock, but they're masterpieces quality print. They're stunning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I strongly recommend it. You know, and that's the thing. There are elements from each of these sets that you can do. So, for example, Marvel Gems, it's going to be base set for me, and that's it. You know, I did try and collect some of the inserts. I'm about to offload them all actually, but it's just too much. But you know, but going back to What If, great set. Not for me. I admire and respect all the elements of it, but the Battle Spectre is the bit I'm going to collect from that.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man metal and X-Men metal universe, the Planet Metals, because I dig
Those
metal cards.
Those are my yeah. I love metal cards. Those are a great set.
It's pretty difficult to fuck them up, isn't it? Really, let's face it.
Yep, they're durable. They're beautiful.
Yeah, but there's a lot of scratches on them, especially on the X-Men ones. They were scratched up a lot.
That was one where luckily, like the PMGs, you could see a progression that came to the last one. You know, they got better and better. Like the medallions. The first ones were rough. The way the image jumps up on top of the card like that, it's the high point. So at any point, it's risen from the rest of the card, and they did take kind of a beating.
And that's another callback to Spider-Man Metal's failures. They didn't carry over almost any of the inserts from X-Men Metal, and yet here we are with the new Avengers Metal, where they really went right. They dipped right back to it.
Right.
It's really sad. Like I feel like they did a great. It's unfortunate that they're losing the license and all that stuff, but they listened. You know,
yes.
Because I know that I tore apart that set on one of these shows. And I think that Upper Deck really took our advice and went back to the well from X-Men Metal, what went well, and re-executed a lot of it very well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They listen. Yeah. They listened to us. Right. You know, do you remember when X-Men Metal came out? I don't know if any of you guys were around. They did like a little focus group. The social media coordinator at the time, Upper Deck, you know, a post that they hired coming out of COVID. It didn't exist before. Did some individual focus groups with collectors to get feedback to find out how they could improve things, and they managed to get some of that in Spider-Man Metal, but they were already in production with that, so you know they couldn't do everything. But
Masterpieces XL,
they have listened.
Yeah.
Hey, what?
Yeah. Masterpieces XL. Yeah, they listened. They certainly listened.
But yes.
I mean,
hey, Masterpieces XL. If they can squeeze out a 2018 version of that before year's end, I'll be very, very happy. Thank you.
And if they bring the contrast up a little bit.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Interestingly, I think I mentioned this to someone, but I don't think we mentioned it on an episode. I noticed looking at my Masterpieces XL box, it was printed in Italy. I don't know why that's important to mention. I just thought it was interesting. So clearly, you know, they've had to go with different vendors for different things. And I think it's fascinating to think that there could be quite a lot of vendors in Italy that are having a quieter time of things if Panini have lost certain aspects of licenses.
Yeah.
So.
But I brought up the XL thing because you were talking about how they listen. They do. They go in. They listen. They repost. They follow and.
Oh, they repost. Oh, yeah. We know it's your idea, Josh. I've already asked them to cut you a check, and they politely told me to go away. But never mind. Never mind, eh? Panini do print in Italy, very much so. Yes. We did have another question.
Did we ever? We talked about the worst, but did we talk about the best?
I certainly touched on it with Gems. Again, it's elements of sets. I mean, that's the thing. Your perfect set is going to be very different to my perfect set.
Yeah, Flair Ultra Spider-Man.
Flair Ultra Spider-Man, I have to say, it could well be. Could well be, actually. I don't know.
I mean, that's my favorite.
But no, just generally in terms of consistency across the board, and it had such a so many different levels to it that you could collect at. And also, there is a very finite window of time where certain elements, like there's certain elements of it you cannot do now, simply
Right.
because there's too little out there. You know, those e-pack achievements for the rainbow and especially the rainbow web foils. You'll be very lucky to even do a lower character rainbow foil now. You certainly wouldn't be able to do a web foil, I don't think.
Now, this is your number one set, Jason?
Flare Ultra Spider-Man.
In terms of what we
yeah.
think is the best set that Upper Deck has put out.
I know some other people that really like that set. I won't name names, but people probably know who they are. But there's people that really like that set. It was one of the first ones I dove into. It was on e-pack for a while, and so I liked it. Was once I got them in hand that you really saw me. They're masterpiece level quality, in my opinion. The base set. I mean, it's original art, thick stock, and then getting the rainbow foil and rainbow web foil they're awesome. Silver foil are nice too, but like I rainbow foiled the Spider-Man 2099 card, and it looks great.
That's my favorite non-masterpiece set.
It's it's a nice set. You had the metal chase set, and then you had the PMGs, and those kind of really took off. But the base set in general, you got your 100 card character base, and you got original art for like whatever team ups, milestones, the different little kind of subsets are all your original art base, which was cool because Flare Ultra Avengers, you had your 100 card base, and then you had like the Silver Age Avengers, which was original art, and then everything else was repurposed art. Flare Ultra Spider-Man, I think even X-Men, you had a little bit bigger base with different subsets, and this was all original art. Real
Flare
nice.
Ultra X-Men was huge. You had 150 base, 75 heroes, 75 villains, and then you had 4 10-card chase sets, so it was 200 all in.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Spider-Man, but it was a lot.
X-Men is getting a lot of love in the chat. Flare Ultra X-Men, an awful lot of love.
Jake
deservedly so.
On Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think all of them. I mean, that's that was a high point, definitely. I think they're definitely the high points of the Flare Ultra run that they did. I mean, Flare Ultra Spider-Man was the first Flare Ultra set that Upper Deck did. And yeah, those two, it's like a 1-2 punch. So if you think about it, Flare Ultra Avengers, Flare Ultra Wolverine, Flare Ultra Midnight Sun. So that's 5 Flare Ultra sets from Upper Deck. Those last 3 had a lot of work to do to meet the benchmark set from the ones that are 5-6 years previous. So yeah, they're always going to be tough. So when you're comparing them to those, it's kind of a no-brainer, really. But I love the fact that we're in a point now where we've got, much like Masterpiece, we've got 12 Masterpieces sets now over the years. I think we've got maybe 8, 9 Flare Ultra ones. That's something to be proud of. You've kept that lineage,
True.
And like with Masterpieces, you'll have high points and you'll have low points.
If they were all the same,
they'll all have their fans. Yeah, that's what I mean. And Masterpieces.
The more modern Flare just doesn't hold a candle to the older stuff.
But that's the thing. That will be someone's first Flare Ultra set.
Right.
So do you see what I mean? And they will have all the feels that we have about Masterpieces 2016, Masterpieces 07. Do you see what I mean?
For me, I was just going to say, like, I know it's not a favorite set for some, but as somebody that didn't read the Midnight Suns set or the Midnight Suns books, the set, I think it's perfect for me and Taylor. Most of it, there's some of the stuff in it that that is okay, but I mean, like that Doctor Strange, that Bianchi and the dagger, and I don't know. I've just had had a thing for medallions lately, and I've really, and I wasn't around to be able to get the first two, or the 17 Spider-Man and the 18 X-Men Fleer Ultra. So my first one was Avengers, and that
Right.
to me that was like, but I still bought it.
I tell you what I do like about Fleer Ultra Avengers. I was able to open blasters of that with my then 7-year-old. Can't take away that experience.
Right.
Right.
She loved
Right.
it. She robbed all the female cards and buggered off.
Those
she
were
really
fun
enjoyed it.
blasters. The Avengers were fun. But
Yeah, because they had jambalayas in those, right?
I mean,
So that
you
was
could
like
possibly, yeah, you could get it
at a
double.
low
I
hit
think
point,
you did.
right?
And I saw
reduced-
someone get a platinum portrait from one as well.
Yes.
and that's what I mean. Is I was always like, listen, you put a couple of those in there, and people are going to get exposed to those parallels that aren't going to be able to snag a box, whether it's price or availability, and they get hooked. They catch a really cool jambalaya and a character they like. They can either trade towards what they want, or it's a character that hits with them. So when you put those in blasters, I get it at a low rate. It's
Yeah.
Did you say really cool and jambalaya in the same sentence? Sorry, I just hate them.
I've never understood jambalayas.
I think it comes from the sports side.
Yeah.
yeah.
A
A lot of people don't like die cut cards or cut cards of any. But if it's something different, I'm gonna try to pick up a copy or two of my character. Like
they have their place. I'm just not.
I was just never wild about the design or the name or any of that. And I know that when I was putting a 2099 set of all his cards from Fleet Ultra Spider-Man, that one was my least favorite. And that one was, I think I had to trade a freaking sketch to get. I mean, it was insane what I had to do to get an ugly card. And I don't have it anymore. But so I don't really like jambalayas.
Buyer's remorse on that one.
Yes.
I'm going to throw a question in here then, which I've immediately fucking forgotten. Oh, that's really annoying. I was really pleased with myself for that one. They did.
But with every awesome insert they come out with, there's going to be a couple that don't really land. And if they don't continue to push the different styles of printing process and different shadow box cards and things like this, then that next big winner is either gonna never happen or take longer to happen.
Right.
So you've got to try it. It's
me,
like,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Carry on.
No,
sorry.
But with me, you always got a chance to land something. These medallion cards, Wes has been big on the medallion cards, I know. When I first saw them, it took me a second. Then I was like, man, these are cool. They're shot. And then as they carry over, it's cool to have the Midnight Suns logo as opposed to the Fleer Ultra Avengers logo, as opposed to a really nice parallel that carries on set to set is what you figure out when you're trying new things.
For every set, there's a winner and a loser. Like those medallions are fucking killer. And then there's the late night creep concert.
Yeah.
Man, sometimes it's just the name of the insert.
They glow.
Yeah, no, okay. I've got mine right here on Ready 5. Like, honestly, awful name, awful execution, but the idea when you turn the lights off and his skull fire glows and the bike tires glow, it looks awesome.
It's the name that kills you.
It kills me. It kills me. This is silly. Everything about this is silly. What were you guys doing? But the card is fun, and it's a nice card. It's the only one on my table that's glowing when I turn all the lights off. Well, it's
awful execution, but then you turn the lights off.
In a world where we're already like sometimes self-conscious about our collecting because we're like nerdy about it, I'm going to turn around and be like, babe, I'm collecting all the late night creep concert cards.
Yeah, right. You don't say that out loud.
Yeah.
But my point is, like, you don't get in, now all of a sudden they kind of figure out, hey, we can put those glow in the dark inks in a lot of different parallels and variants and make a sharp, clean card that is awesome at day, presents at night. How is that not a winner? Especially when you look at it during the day and it doesn't distort the image.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you're onto things.
because I think the original Ghost Rider sets had some glow in the dark cards,
Yes.
and then
It did.
also,
That's a 10 card.
and it was a
Comic
nice
Images.
throwback to see them do that. You know, and you know, Boyle would know best, or maybe Ian. Has there been any other time that glow in the dark has been used? I mean, that was an '80s thing, late '90s,
In Marvel
right? Early
cards,
'90s.
I think this is the first time that's happened since Comic Images.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: the Upper Deck haven't done this, and I wish they had. Scratch and Sniff. The Punisher set had I can't remember the name of it. Keith will know it in chat. Gunpowder, that's it. They had a smelly card set.
Wow.
Hats off to that. But
I don't think they could do Gunpowder in this day and age, but
no.
Yeah.
No,
I was thinking about Marvel cards, but I know X-Files has got glow cards as well. But their concert posters. I'm assuming he's talking about the Creep concerts thing there.
Yeah, they have that concert poster, you know,
for sure,
aesthetic to them. Yeah.
But
late night Creep concert, I think you end up on a list if you go to one of those. So
right.
Oh, what if had glow in the dark as well? Yes, of course.
Oh, the zombies.
Yes. The zombie cards. Yeah. That's right.
Yes.
Those
so
were
much.
Hard. I think those
Interglobal
were
and Keith Boyle both came up with that. So yes, thank you.
And some of these things have potentials. Like we're yet to see a metal card. We can first mess around with the catalysts. So you've got aluminum, copper, iridium. You can mess around with a bunch of different stuff there and put like a periodic logo on the back of the card. People will love chasing their copper, nickel, whatever metals you want. And then to laser cut the image or put depth into the metal. I've seen some of these laser cut metal cards in 4K resolution at 3.5 by 2.5. Some of them are higher than that on the pixel rating. So you're talking about a piece of metal cut with depth to it that is amazing. I mean, there's still a chance for some cards to go through, there's some parallels we haven't seen yet there that are, on the table. And they got to keep messing around with the printing process. You got to keep pushing the envelope because that next really huge PMG, if you will, or whatever, it's out there. It's just yet to be made.
This circles us nicely back to will Topps do that? Because Upper Deck have consistently, I think it's fair to say, tried new things, push stuff. They've tried to bring stuff back in. They have listened to our feedback. They have, we've done the dance quite a few times with them. Will Topps do that? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if they do. But that's the thing. It'd be
do they care
to see. Exactly. And do they? So
do they? Yeah.
We'll find out. We'll find out, I guess. I'm gonna wrap this up because we've been going almost 2 hours, and I'm sure someone needs to go to the bathroom. Certainly, I just have. So
not one of those NASCAR systems. I'm just good.
What you basically mean is you're sitting there on a commode and you're naked waist down. Okay, that's fine.
Otto, I didn't even know it happened.
I just want to thank everyone in the chat for dropping in. Really appreciate you spending your Sunday morning for the most of you. In fact, very early Sunday morning for at least one of you, Amanda, on the West Coast. So she's probably still in bed. We're probably in bed with Amanda right now.
Hey,
she's gonna hit me.
You should try this once. You should try it at least once.
Yeah. What? Being in bed with me? You mean?
With a bunch of
men. There we go. Carl's just come in late. Carl Varney has showed up late. What if had glow in the dark cards? It did indeed, Carl. So on that note, I'm digging these doing these live on Sunday. So we're going to do more of them. I think awesome. So. Our kind of rather than do rather than pre-record on Sundays, I think we'll be. Amanda's like so early. Amanda, is it still Saturday night for you, or have you actually been to bed and gotten up early? The inquiring minds want to know. So we're going to do more of them basically because it saves a shed ton of admin. behind
Absolutely.
the scenes. But the audio of this will still get ripped and put out as the audio episode on a Thursday. So we got to try and make it work for kind of both, really. It gives me a reason to get up. I'm saving it for last, Jake. Jake's just asked a question. Did you ask Keith my question? So Keith's probably bracing himself now.
First of all, which Keith? Because I'll default. I'll just say go ask it in the chat. I'll
you,
get out if I have to.
Speroni. Right. Jake McManus asked Keith Speroni, is Keith ever going to rip that Rittenhouse X23 gold seal? I would if it was mine. Thoughts?
I have already.
Well, you didn't, did you? You heat gunned it.
Correct. I heat gunned and pulled the sticker off. Yes, and I reapplied it to. It's on the wall. It's actually on the wall right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you reapplied it to the thing you've moved it to.
Let's see. There it is.
So, there it is. I can just about see it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like how you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
That was the right move. The sticker's a part of it, and you kept it, and it didn't get broken. The seal, yeah,
No.
that's the right move.
It has pulled back a couple times, so I might need to get some light glue application to it, but
yeah.
I think the topic of Rittenhouse seals we'll save for another week because I'll get feisty, and we'll go on too long. But we'll save that for another week. All right, guys. Keith, welcome back.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've missed you.
happy to be here.
The
Yeah,
hobby
good to
is
see you, man.
better with you in it.
I'm sorry.
And healthier with you in it, and I was worried about you. Genuinely was worried about you. So I'm glad you're okay. Josh, was that funny? Oh, you're sneezing.
No,
Sorry.
not at all.
I thought
Not at all.
Josh was just like pissing himself laughing. It's like
I was looking for the mute button, but I couldn't hit it in time.
Oh no, that's fine. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to put the Baron, the Master, Boris Vallejo. His audio intro will be at the beginning of the audio version of this episode. That's how much I am happy that Keith is back. He deserves that kind of introduction. In fact, I might go to Boris and ask him to re-record it and say, I am pleased that Keith Speroni is back on the podcast. Because that's exactly what he'll say. And of course, because Keith is back, I'm going to have to ask him to see us off.
Oh, don't do that to me. Jesus.
You remember it.
I got it. Enjoy collecting.
There he goes. Is it done? Yes, it's done.